Hi, welcome to Barb's Book Spot.
Hi, welcome to Barb's Book Spot. I have 4 books to share with you today, and they're all examples of nonfiction that can be used with very young children. I like them for different reasons, and I'm excited to share them with you. The first one is called Penguin Day, and it's by Nick Bishop. This is a book published by Scholastic Press, and it's a very simple narrative story about a family of penguins. So it goes sequentially through a day. We meet Mama and Papa Penguin and Baby Penguin, and we're going to watch Mama Penguin as she goes off to fish and find food for the family. Meanwhile, Papa Penguin stays home with the baby. And I think that's interesting as a device when you're storytelling, when you have 2 separate settings where the action is taking place simultaneously. Once you're done with this story, that might be something you want to go back and say, we've gone through the day, but while this was happening, this was also happening. And that's a storytelling technique. And I think kids will sort of intuitively get it, but it also might be a mentor text to go back and share. So morning has come. We see our rockhopper penguins, and the photographs are just brilliant. They're very detailed. You almost can see the personality of the penguins. Here they're a little apprehensive about jumping in the water. They're worried there might be orcas or seals, something that would be a predator for them. And you can feel that tension in the photograph. Here we see far away, Mama Penguin is swimming and looking for fish. An earlier page said, meanwhile, back at home, Papa Penguin was taking care of the baby. Let me see if I can find that page for you. So here we are, meanwhile, back with Baby Penguin, so we get that simultaneous action. Baby gets a little impatient and wanders off, and there's a dangerous incident where a predatory bird, a skua, tries to get to him, and Papa saves him. So there's an actual story that takes place. I think it will be engaging. And in the end, we have some important information about rockhopper penguins and about skuas and all of the characters that we've met in this story. I think children will relate to it because it's a family with a mom and a dad and a baby and events that they'll understand. So I think your children will enjoy this. Now, I brought some friends with me today. I have a little rockhopper penguin beanie baby here. And I also have a praying mantis puppet. Sometimes when you're working with small children, it's fun to use puppets or some kind of realia, some kind of little figures to go along with the story. And they can understand a little better. It catches their attention, might provoke a little thoughtful questioning. Praying mantis has always been one of my favorite bugs, and insects, I should say. So I just had to share this puppet with you. My next story is called My Awesome Summer Mantis. Well, actually, it's My Awesome Summer by P. Mantis, and it's written by Paul Meisel. But we get the sense, because of the way the text is on the cover, that P. Mantis wrote the story. And the reason it's that way is because P. Mantis is telling us an autobiography of his life. It starts out with, I was born today. It's a beautiful, sunny spring day. Now, this book was published in 2017. All my books today were published in 2017, and this one was published by Holiday House. So we get a chronology, a sequence of events. We go through the whole cycle of a praying mantis. I love that we can find our narrator on every page. So we see this array of the baby mantises as they've broken out of the seed case. And if you look way down here, it says, here I am, in very tiny text. I think children will like to look for our narrator on every page. We'll see the date changing at the top. We'll see signals that the seasons are changing. Maybe the leaves will change color or trees will blossom out. We see all of the elements of the life cycle. This picture shows the mantises going after aphids. That's what they eat. And I should warn you that there's a page that tells us that when the aphids ran out and the mantis was still hungry, let me just read this page to you so you get what I mean. June 2nd, all the aphids are gone. I'm hungry, growing so fast. I ate one of my brothers. Okay, maybe 2. Now, mantises do that, and that's real life. But I think you should know that ahead in case you have any very sensitive children in your class or in your group that might not like to know about that just in the middle of a story. So Mantis goes on. He's got quite a personality, a big personality for a very little guy. Again, we see the leaves changing, the dates changing, and we go all the way through the life cycle to the end. Now, when you get to the back matter, here's the end. He's finally getting ready to settle in for his long winter. We can see a new seed case here, so new babies have come. Now, I don't know for sure if P. mantis is a male or a female. That might be something you can talk about. But I get the sense it might be a female because now we have a new egg case here. And so that would be something children would want to investigate. When I first started reading the story, I thought it was a he. So we'll see. And then in the end, he goes to sleep for the winter. The end papers, there's not really end papers, it's actually the inside of the cover, has lots of information about praying mantises. Fun facts. We get a labeled body with all the insect parts labeled, a small glossary, and some websites for further information. So I think this one would be really fun, and it might be a nice mentor text to teach about autobiography. Feathers and Hair, What Animals Wear. This book was written by Jennifer Ward, and the illustrations are by Jing Jing Song, and this is a Beach Lane book, 2017. The end papers show us two different kind of very patterned, we're not sure what it is, textures, I guess you would say. Different colors and textures. And I just want to read a couple pages of this book so you can get a feel for it. So we start out with our title page. And the colors and the illustrations are beautiful. They're gorgeous. They jump right out at you. They're big. Everyone seems to be looking right out of the book at you. And colorful. Some animals wear feathers. Some animals wear hair. Some animals wear prickly spines and roam without a care. So you get this sort of pattern, predictable rhythm to the text. I think that helps young readers if they're trying to read the book for themselves. There's really only one new word that they have to learn as they go along. And it continues with these lovely large animals all the way through. Now, as we get farther on, we see some different kinds of animals, birds, fish, some animals dressed plain. And it struck me that this book would be great for inspiring those kind of wonder questions that we hope our children are asking as they're listening to a story. I don't know that I would interrupt them with those questions, but maybe after reading this book I might say, what are some things you wondered about after you saw all these different creatures? I wonder why some animals are so dull and other creatures are so colorful. Why is that? I wonder why some animals have hair and others have feathers. Those are things that kids can investigate. It would start a little inquiry, it'd start a little visible thinking that you could do in the classroom. At the end of this book, there's nothing along the way that tells us who these critters are or what they are other than the names of them at some times. But in the end, they say only one animal wears clothes, and that's you. Again, inspiring a question of, are we an animal? How are we like animals? How are we different? And then we have some lovely back matter that gives us more information identifying each of the creatures and a little bit about that creature. So I really like this. It's fun to read and it's fun to learn about animals, and the pictures just jump right off the page at you. And my last book today is called Billions of Bricks, a counting book about building, and it's by Kurt Cyrus and it's published by Henry Holt. I like this book. I kept the dust jacket on. These all have dust jackets that look just like the covers. This one also does, but I kept it on because I wanted to remind you that sometimes characters or the story start on the end paper or on the dust jacket, on the flyleaf here. So we see characters doing things that actually add something to the story. I take them off sometimes just because it's easier when I'm holding up the book. But I just wanted to remind you that sometimes there's some valuable information and additions to the story on there. So in Billions of Bricks, the end papers are very patterned, and I think this whole book has pattern to it. It's one that you can come back to again and again for different reasons. In here you can see, if you look closely at the bricks, you can see the words billions and bricks in the pattern of the bricks, and I like that touch. That's a nice detail. Now, our little characters, the three characters that you'll see here on this first page, reoccur all throughout the text. And it's kind of like a Where's Waldo, where you can find them on every page and see what they're doing. And there's a little bit of a story going on with them as they make their way through the pages, and there's a surprise ending. So I won't spoil that for you, but you can keep an eye out for these people as you go through. And with this one too, I'm just going to read a little bit to you. 2, 4, 6. Look at all the bricks. Red and rough, hard and tough. 2, 4, 6. And notice, 2, 4, 6. The pictures exactly depict what the text is saying. 10, 20, 30. Some are old and dirty. Some are clean or in between. 10, 20, 30. And again, we have a nice representation. You could go back and count them to see if it was actually correct. Now this is where the text rhythm changes. And notice, before we've had some very orderly, regimented pages. The illustrations are almost geometric or in a line. Here, everything's all over the place. Listen to the difference in the text on this page. Dig the clay, squish it thick, take a mold and make a brick. Dump it out, let it dry, stoke the oven way up high. It scans a little differently, and that's the only page that does that. The rest goes back to that da, 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 that same rhythm that we started with, and we get that real orderly laying of bricks kind of tempo to the text. I love it. On this page, we're actually counting by 5, 10, 15, 20. We have a group of 5 here, here, here. You see here's our reoccurring character again coming through. And then in the end, we see examples of all the things that can be made with bricks. And so we see buildings and roads and walls and boulevards and railroad yards and fountains and all kinds of things made with bricks. And then in the very end, let me just see. Well, you know what? I'm not going to show you the very end. I was going to show you, but it is a surprise. Notice that something will happen to one of our characters in the very end that I think will make you laugh out loud. So those are my books for today. I want to wish you happy reading, and don't forget about puppets and critters to share with your little ones when you're talking about books.